How's everyone doing? Welcome to the final episode of After the After Hours with your boy TraderPrad. The final day of this week is tomorrow going to be a free fall Friday. Now get ready for tomorrow. Powell going on the microphone. Powell going on the microphone again. Get ready for tomorrow. So I do have a watch list ready, but if you guys are ready, hit that like and subscribe. Hit that like and subscribe. Thank you guys for all the love. Thank you guys for all the support. This is your boy TraderPrad. TraderPrad. But if you guys are ready for this show to get started, why don't we dive into the full screen and hit that like and subscribe. What is up? Wait, wrong button. And I also forgot to fix my webcam settings. So let me just do that real quick. Ooh, everything just went dark all of a sudden. And here we go. We're back. How's everyone doing? Welcome to another episode, the final episode of this week. Hopefully you had a great. Let me make sure the mic's getting picked up. I can see it's getting picked up on the streaming software. And it's getting picked up on my audio mixer, so the mic is good to go. How's everyone doing? Forgot to set up the camera. Forgot to do a bunch of things before stream today. I was running a little late. Late thumbnail, late getting to the stream. I don't even have my watch list fully filled out. I have all the tickers I want to talk about filled out, but I don't have the ATRs filled out and so on. So running a little late here. So keep up with me as I try to scramble for you guys. But at least we made it to stream on time. How's everyone doing? Hopefully you guys had a great Thursday so far. Friday coming up, final day of the second quarter, final day of the mid-year. Hopefully we get some crazy excitement throughout the day tomorrow for us to get entertained out of. Today we got some entertainment later on in the day thanks to our good old friend Roaring Kitty. Okay, didn't know that the Roaring Kitty would start another short squeeze, and the short squeeze wouldn't be GME, so we'll talk about that more in depth later on down the stream. We also have DJT, Donald Trump himself, going to have a debate in about an hour or so. It's 8 p.m. right now, just about when we start playing chess is when DJT should be having his debate, which we could probably honestly see on stream over here. We could probably watch on stream. I think you don't get dinged for what's it called, for copyright and so on for watching that. So if we can, we'll probably watch that on stream while we play chess or something. But for the most part, we're going to go through stocks that reported earnings this week. We're going to go through the stocks that are moving around recently, such as Rivian, CHWY, GME, GitLab, and so on. We're going to go through the Magnificent Seven stocks, some of the big name stocks such as Amazon, Meta, moving around quite a bit. So we're interested to see how those positions set up for tomorrow, maybe an opportunity across the board as some rotation from the semiconductor sector, rotation away from Nvidia, and is now being poured into the large cap stocks. So that's what we're seeing in the market at the moment. But let's see if that rotation is going to continue into Friday, or are we going to get a free Fall Friday? So let's head on to the full screen and let's get started. Usually, before I head on to the full screen, though, I greet my wonderful viewers. Almost forgot about that. Let's not skip past that section over here. So if you're watching me on Twitter, or should I say x.com, or if you're watching me on Twitch, say hello in the chat so I can say hi to you. On YouTube, we got Dieter and TH so far. As more people trickle in, everything is good. Now it is sound issues. Oh, everything good? Okay, hopefully everything's good. But as more people trickle in down the road, we're going to be able to say hello to more wonderful, beautiful traders out there in the world. But let's head over to the full screen, which is going to show you the earnings board. The earnings board tonight, we only have really one stock to talk about, which is Nike. Nike reported earnings today. That's why our thumbnail for YouTube is Michael Jordan holding a brand new Jordan shoe. Maybe I should open up the picture. Where is the picture? YouTube thumbnail. Open the picture. Jordan holding a brand new shoe with the stock market theme, right? Showcasing a brand new theme. Well, I guess it's not Jordan because it's me. It might look like Jordan a lot because, you know, we have very similar facial features and so on. But I guess the announcement of this shoe overall not being liked by the market and plummeting the stock from at a high of $99 after hours to a low of $82.60, down about $12. So big move to the downside on NKE. Ooh, I don't know, you could see all my pictures just by going through over here. I guess because I opened the image. I like this thumbnail a little bit. I like this one because this is the day where Apple took over the lead again, and you can see how it's like an Olympic stage style setting, 1, 2, 3, but my face is not in there. Obviously, usually I have a theme where my face is always in the thumbnails, but that one instance, my face was not in a thumbnail. This is a gallery of thumbnails, man. You could sit there and you know, have a YouTube lessons or like a Harvard lesson on how to make thumbnails using my thumbnails. I mean, these are amazing. Come on now. This one's hilarious. I don't even remember this one. This one's amazing. Probably going to do something like this again when Amazon reports earnings in about 30 days. Let him cook. Come on, guys. We can go all day with these thumbnail showcase. All right, anyways, let's get back to the market. Bezos and Sanchez. That's right. Sanchez back in her day was actually kind of cute. Back in her day, Lauren Sanchez was actually kind of cute. Where's a picture of her before all this makeup and stuff? I can't find the picture that I saw that makes me thought that, you know, she was hella cute. Anyways, move on. Back to the market. Stop distracting me there, TH. TH always distracting me with this shit. All right, back to the market. Let's get showing you what tomorrow's watch list looks like. As we already mentioned, the watch list starting with mainly stocks that reported earnings throughout the week, such as Nike, Micron, BlackBerry, Levi, Walgreens, FedEx, CCL. Some of the recent movers with news behind them: Rivian, GitLab, CHWY going absolutely nuts today, halting to the upside and then getting sold off to the downside. We got PanW that had an insane breakout today, and I got to ride that move to the upside. Amazing long on PanW today. Not sure if there's going to be a continuation or like a day two, because this wasn't really a catalyst play. This was more just a technical breakout, and a technical breakout that had a lot of volume right off the open, surprisingly enough. So I'm gonna keep an eye on PanW, but it's not like a you know, a news play or anything. And then we have our same old repetitive names, such as the Magnificent Seven, the semiconductor names, the cryptocurrency names, and the large cap, and also the small cap ETF, the Russell ETF, which is actually having a rebalance tomorrow. So Russell is going to be rebalancing. Now Russell is a way larger ETF than S&P 500 and Nasdaq, right? There's 2,000 stocks in the S&P 5, sorry, in the IWM Russell, whereas S&P 500 is 500, Nasdaq 100 is 100. So IWM is 2,000 stocks, and sometimes they do have some big name stocks in there. So based on how they're going to be rebalancing their portfolio tomorrow, at the end of the quarter, at the end of the half of the month, or half of the year over here, will be pretty interesting. Usually, statistically, the end of every June is the most volume day on the market, so we'll be pretty fun to see what type of moves we get to see on the market tomorrow. We've already seen insane rally on the end of May. We saw an insane action for some of the stocks on last Friday when the S&P 500 rebalance happened, and tomorrow with the Russell rebalance happening. We're very interested to see how some of the stocks, such as maybe CrowdStrike, that recently got added to S&P 500, maybe they get added to Russell also, or maybe something along those words. We see some stocks throughout the day being mentioned that they're being added to the index or being deleted from the index, which causes it to get sold off or get bought up more. We're going to keep our eyes on them. So pretty big day tomorrow, pretty important day, end of the quarter. At the top of the watch list, though, we got NKE, Nike, which sold off pretty drastically today. Looks like the report was green. Let's just quickly see on a glance over here. Okay, so they missed on revenue, but they did beat on EPS, about a 20% beat on EPS. But even then, that is not helping the stock over here at the moment to stay afloat. They are now pushing all the way back. I think they actually broke this low of $88, right? If I remember correctly, when we made that thumbnail, they were below 88 all the way into $82 almost. So under this 52-week low at the moment, which is around $88.66. And if we go to the 5-minute chart, you can see how we're well under that, all the way into $82.30. Now, is that report really that drastic? And only one thing can answer that question. That's going to be Benzinga. Everyone go check out the Benzinga link in the description below. If you're watching me on X or if you're watching me on Twitch, the link should be in my bio. Go check out my Linktree link in the bio, which will provide you the links to all my affiliates and all my social media and so on. NKE, Nike highlights revenue miss, EPS beat, taking over near-term challenges head on. Amazing title. Let's continue with the report. Nike reported fourth quarter revenue at $12.6 billion, down 2% year over year. The revenue total missed street consensus estimates of $12.91 billion. Nike direct revenue was $5.1 billion in the fourth quarter, down 8% year over year. Wholesale revenue was $7.1 billion in the fourth quarter, up 5%. Converse revenue, they own Converse? Converse revenue was up $480 million in the fourth quarter, down 18%. The company said it had growth in several regions, including China, but was offset by weakness in North America. Nike gross margin was up 110 basis points to 44.7% in the fourth quarter, thanks to cost-saving initiatives. The company reported adjusted fourth quarter earnings per share of 1.01, which beat the street estimates of 85 cents per share. Full year revenue came in at $51.4 billion for Nike, which is 1% higher than the prior year. The company ended the quarter with $7.5 billion in inventories, down 11% year over year. The Nike ended the quarter fiscal year with $11.6 billion in cash and cash equivalents. What's next for Nike? The company repurchased $1 billion in share in the fourth quarter and repurchased $4.3 billion in shares during the fiscal year. Buybacks are part of an $18 billion program approved in June 2022. Nike said it has repurchased about $9.1 billion from that $18 billion so far. We are taking our near-term challenges head on while making continued progress in the areas that matter most to Nike's future, serving the athlete through performance innovation, moving at pace of the consumer, and growing in the complete marketplace. Danaho, I guess that's the CEO, said he's confident that Nike is lining up in our competitive advantage. The company will host a conference call at 5 p.m. Eastern, which could include forward-looking guidance. We are driving better balance. I think at the end of the day, none of the shit matters, honestly. What's the outlook? Led us to update our fiscal 25 outlook, but where is it? Yeah, I'm not buying it. So here's my theory as to why Nike is not really doing as good as they were back in the day. If you go out these days and you look at people's shoes, not many people have Jordans. Don't get me wrong, Jordan's still the most sold shoe out there, I believe, to this date, right? Maybe Yeezys have taken over, but that's my point I'm heading over to. These days, you actually see a lot more Yeezys, a lot more Adidas, a lot more New Balances, and so on. And when Kanye had that partnership with Adidas, a lot of people jumped ships and started buying Adidas shoes. They started having multiple Yeezy, Zebras, Adidas, whatever those shoes were. So Adidas kind of blew up from that deal, and then that deal fell apart, and that kind of brought Adidas down quite a bit. People thought that would actually help out at Nike, but then now that the whole cult following for the shoe kind of, they still like Jordan, but the whole Jordan hype, in my opinion, at the very least, has come down a lot, and you're seeing how that's being poured into the shoe brand over here. Now, yeah, they don't only have Jordans, they have more than Jordans. They have the Nike Air Force One, which is still a big brand for them. You left out Reebok and Puma. I mean, yeah, Reebok has kind of had a revival also recently. Puma has been doing okay too. I don't really see that many Pumas unless like you're an older person. Maybe Puma athletic gear, like a tracksuit or something, but not really like Puma shoes on young kids, right? You'll see like high school kids or like someone going to work with Air Force One white colors, right? You'll see maybe some Jordans on some people, but more often than not these days, you're gonna be seeing these people have Yeezys on them. Yeezys on their feet. So it's almost like a complete change in shift in culture, and Nike has fallen back. They're only like one shoe and one hit away from taking over again, right? They're only one shoe and one hit away from taking over the industry again. They have the money, they have the brand, they have the name and everything behind them that could easily revive them in a heartbeat. So let's see what happens. And Olympics is coming up. If their sponsored athlete ends up winning or beating records, that might help them out a little bit in the future with sales and so on. Tiny little bump at the end of the day. We'll see what happens, but you can see how the market completely ignoring all the positive in the future that could be for Nike, and only focusing on what seems to be the current report, which is absolutely negative for the stock, right? And dumping it to, I guess, right into October 2022 lows. I think that's exactly where we are at right now, right? Yeah, exactly right into October 2022 lows, showing decline 8% year over year, and then 2% year over year on revenue, and then 8% year over year on Nike direct revenue. Wholesale was up a little bit, 5%, woohoo. Converse down 18%. So lot of numbers just screaming to the downside, and the outlook is not even being mentioned, so I'm not sure if the outlook is good either. This report for me, ladies and gentlemen, is basically screaming short the pops, short any pops that are available to short on NKE. At the moment, you can see how I mean, $80 seems like a good long opportunity. This is already going to be opening into SSR, but I could see the stock being down like 25% tomorrow easily off a report like this. Right now, we are not analysts, we're just a day trader, and I'm just kind of picking stuff out of thin air and making stuff up, but we need proof behind it, and the only way we'll get proof behind it is by watching the price action tomorrow as the stock plays out after 9:30. So a couple ideas over here, watching this 82 area like a hawk. If 82 is holding off the open, there could be a long opportunity to get a nice little scalp to the upside and then be able to flip short somewhere into 85, 87 area, flip short in this area to ride it back into 82 or maybe even lower than 82. Granted, however, if it does make a move all the way into 87, I don't think we see a move all the way back into 82. It probably comes back to 84 or something and then goes lower for the next few days, next few weeks, whatever. But I think we have a good short opportunity on any pops over here on Nike. You can see how we kind of had this little battle right into this 88.66 area. I cannot see the stock above that price because that's also that double bottom on the yearly chart. If you go to the 1 year chart, you can see how there's a clean double bottom right into that price. So it's almost impossible for me to see the stock anywhere above 88.50. That's going to be the easiest short if we do get there. Easiest short. So having 88.50 on the watch over here, but that's like R3 or something. I don't think we go that far. You can see how the earnings anchored VWAP is currently around $87. So before 88.50, you could kind of mark out 87, but I'm projecting that this is going to possibly, this is possibly coming down over here somewhere, and you can see how this pop right into 84. This is where I'm expecting the stock to have a reject and sell back. 85, 84, reject this area for me and then push back into low a day and then continue breaking below low a day. So that's going to be basically my game plan. I'm projecting that the earnings anchored VWAP will come around somewhere between 85 to 84 right around the open, and then we get a nice little pop into 84, nice little pop into 85. There's no more buyers there and there's more sellers piling in, and then we get a dump right into 82 and even more. Something that I actually forgot to do, which I do before starting streams, is putting down the ATRs for the stocks in my watch list. So let me just quickly do that over here real quick before I forget it. I mean, yeah, I could do this off stream too, but now I get to showcase my nice little tool that I got ChatGPT to build for me. All I did is ask ChatGPT to make a simple code. Where are we? 0.80, 0.74, to make a simple code that will scrape a website. You can pick any website you want that will scrape a website for ATRs and display it for you the way you want it to be displayed. And bang, within seconds, the code was given to me. I had no hard work to do. And now I have a nice little tool over here that I use every single day at my disposal without having to constantly check every single stock by, by itself on like Finviz or trading ideas or trading view or something, and take forever doing this. So make your life easier. Use tools like ChatGPT and other AI automation tools to build stuff that can make your trading life easier, ladies and gentlemen. That can make your trading life easier. 1.37. We only got a couple more stocks here, basically the ETFs. 5.17, 4.25, 2.79. And we're done with that. We got all of our ATRs in. So Nike only has an ATR of $1.82, and it moved overall $16 for a stock that has a $2 ATR, had a $16 move. I think expecting a $5 move tomorrow for a reject out of 85 for a resolution into $80 is not crazy. But let's flip the coin over here. Let's say the stock doesn't even have a pop and just keeps on dropping downside and breaks this 82 area. First off, let me put 82 as a support, but just keeps on breaking that 82 and goes lower. I think as a psychological level, 80 is something to keep an eye out for, a psychological level. But below 80, I mean, there is no real level. It drops down to $60, right? Below this little pocket into $80, then you have 77, then you have 76. So after this little pocket right into 80, it's $60, right? So careful with what happens under 80. I would not fight the long there. There could be a long opportunity, but I would not fight the long there because it could easily break 80, go much lower, and then later on give you a long opportunity through 80 for like a resolution above 80 later on in the day or something, right? So Nike, I think, is high priority tomorrow. Not think, I know it's high priority tomorrow, so I'm marking it orange. Will be interesting to see how this one moves. And that is all she wrote for the earnings board. Clap it up for Benzinga. Thank you, Benzinga, for helping us out with that. Now, let's head over to the nonsense that's going on in the stock market world. And this is why the stock market is beautiful, because it's so inefficient. And the inefficiencies in the stock market is what makes it amazing. Roaring Kitty posts an image of a dog on Twitter, or sorry, I should say x.com. I should say x.com. Alright? Posts a dog post on Twitter. I mean, we've known this guy to be a GME guy. Never really a CHWY guy. Right? Like June 13, June 17, June 17. So, okay, last post before this was June 17th. Today, we got a dog. And all of a sudden, every stock that had something to do with dogs started halting, started going higher, started going crazy. Woof, CHWY, pets. Like, what is this nonsense? What are we talking about today? Did I short CHWY today? No, but I shorted Woof off of CHWY's nonsense. So CHWY obviously was going crazy. It was skipping like multiple dollars to the high side. It halted and then it opened up much higher and then ran up to almost $40. There was a short opportunity here that my manager took, but then I was watching Woof. And Woof was stalling out in this area and not able to really go higher than 375. So I got short on Woof and I basically closed into VWAP over here. Gave you a much lower exit if you were, you know, brave enough to hold for that. But after this little consolidation and pop, I just got out of that position. I said thank you to that gift that was given to me on Woof, because Woof, after this move to the downside, halted and then it kind of did nothing. It just moved higher. So I said, nope, I don't want to be trapped in that move because it could easily go back up. We've seen how these cults behave. They're crazy. They can do anything they put their mind to. And you don't want to go against that at all, right? You never want to battle these cults. These cults are absolutely crazy. Now, I would not be surprised if he is somehow invested in CHWY now, right? Out of nowhere, he is now invested in CHWY too. It's got a high short flow. He probably looked at their recent earnings numbers. They've been doing pretty decent earnings too. We looked at their earnings numbers ourselves and we liked their numbers and we were looking for that long. And look at that beautiful double bottom at a previous resistance. So sorry, double bottom at a previous resistance, showing support in this area, breaking out and now breaking out higher. What if this breakout was basically him buying shares and then now he's like, you know, putting those two dog with that. Wait, why did I do that? Because like I guess the dog's looking sideways. But putting the little dog emoji over here, sending it higher, and also I think this is the same dog from the Duck Hunt game, is it not? Oh, it's close enough. It's not, but I guess it's the same breed, right? Same breed almost. But craziness in the market over here will be fun to see if he. I already have his tab right here. Will be fun to see if he updates us on something about him having a position on CHWY. Obviously, with CHWY in play, we're going to continue watching all the other names such as Wolf, PETS, PETZ, and all that other nonsense. Even GME had a little pop today. GME moving higher. I think that pop wasn't long-lived. Let's just go make sure. I mean, yeah, it had a nice little pop and then it just kind of did nothing. But this pop was much earlier than the CHWY pop and so on. So, surprisingly enough, they both did have a pop, but one popped way before the tweet actually came out. And then when the tweet came out, this did nothing, but CHWY went absolutely crazy. I want to talk about GitLab while we get a chance here. GitLab bouncing cleanly and then moving back into the $50 area and giving you a little bit of a struggle into this $50 area right now. So watching GitLab for a move to the higher side. GitLab gave me one good long today, and then the second long I just held it for too much of a move and then basically gave back all my profits that I had on GitLab, which sucked. But it was a good trade. I think I'm gonna continue to keep GitLab on my watch list. I'm gonna keep cycling through GitLab every day just to see if I can find a trade. Where is that? I want that there. I want you here. Thank you. So I'm going to keep GitLab on my watch list. I'm going to keep cycling through it for the next few days, see if it gives us an opportunity. BlackBerry, clean long off that $2.30. I think we were talking about this for you yesterday, right? BlackBerry, look for that long. Now, if it pulls back into 240, 250 and holds this area, I'm looking for another long opportunity there. It should give you a very tight risk for another good reward move up. The report was good. We're holding this low. We're popping back up. So watching BlackBerry, nice little intraday, not intraday, nice little daily chart for a nice little daily chart setup that matches with the catalyst also. Which is actually something that we can't say about this stock, PanW. The daily chart setup is beautiful, but there is no catalyst. But nevertheless, without the catalyst, the stock made a monster move to the upside, and I said don't expect this to happen in one day, and it nearly gave you that move in one day. So mamma mia, thank you for Dieter first to begin with. Dieter for the amazing call out on this trade. Now I'm gonna continue watching to see how the stock behaves on dips into this previous level of 330 or so. If those dips keep getting bought, I want to be interested in that. Today's VWAP is a little bit too high for me compared to where this range is, so I'm not really looking for a long into today's VWAP. I mean, today there wasn't really a catalyst. There was no catalyst there, but it doesn't mean I'm going to ignore it completely. If it shows that it's holding today's VWAP, it's going into today's premium price, and it's still bouncing higher from there, that means the buyer who's there today is still very active tomorrow. So I want to be interested on a possible second run up over here to 350 or maybe higher than 350 on PanW. So watching this position like a hawk tomorrow, make sure you have this one on your watch list. We do have the earnings stocks that reported this week, such as Walgreens, Levi. Mostly looking for a long on these stocks. Levi played out picture perfectly, but then like I said, it was a 50-cent ATR. I'm not going to be that interested to look for a long on a 50-cent ATR stock, and it was stuck in a 50-cent ATR all day, right? It was stuck between 19 to 1950. Boring. But tomorrow, if it gets under 19, there could be some sort of a short opportunity. Keep in mind though, this is going to be on SSR tomorrow, day 2. That means it's going to be a little bit harder to get short on Levi, but there's going to be opportunities nevertheless. And if we pop into 20, pop into today's high, we can look for some opportunities there too. Same thing with Walgreens. Walgreens earnings report was a little bearish, right? They were talking about how selling pharmaceuticals is a little bit tougher at the moment, or something along those words, if I remember. I'm paraphrasing their earnings report at the moment, or at least the CNBC report that I read in the morning. But overall, yeah, they're struggling, and a lot of volume came in. They got sold off right off the open too. Big push right off the open to the downside. Settled somewhere around this 1180, 1170 area. But I think Walgreens might have some opportunities to give you some shorts tomorrow, so keep that one on your watch list too. Let's not forget DJT. In about 30 minutes, Donald Trump debate with Joe Biden will be live on the airways, and that's going to be pretty interesting. Looking forward to see if the stock catches some traction tomorrow off of that debate. Expecting Donald to absolutely obliterate Joe Biden, bury him 6 feet under, but also expecting Joe Biden to be fully dosed up with steroids to be able to, you know, utter a sentence without saying and having a heart attack mid sentence in a mid debate. So we'll be watching what happens over here. Biden says Trump will be bad for inflation. So he's trying to go that route already. Will be fun at the end of the day, nevertheless. Not only for me as a Canadian to watch all the shit show that happens in America, but also as a day trader to see what opportunities set up on the stock market. MLGO getting crazy again. Go crazy, MLGO. Go crazy. So MLGO going crazy again. It got sold off quite a bit though. Got sold off today after having that pop. Maybe this is the start of the down move, but none of that is true until we stop holding this $11 area. So watching MLGO for the next few days without a doubt. Rivian, I think this move down over here is kind of ugly for me. I didn't want to see the stock go below 14, but we did get under 14, so it's like you know, why are the buyers not holding it up? Do they not like the Volkswagen catalyst and so on? But I mean, Green Day, right? Green Day today? No, Red Day. Okay, never mind. Down by 1.8%. Looks like it wants to re-enter this $15 range, and if we can get back above 15 on Rivian, there could be some longs over here setting up again for some intraday longs, for some swing longs. So watch out for all types of opportunities setting up on on Rivian. Micron finally getting under that 135, 136 area, and it seems like it's going to be a little bearish off of the zone now. So watching Micron on any pops to get short into. The report wasn't bad, right? The report wasn't bad, but the outlook wasn't great. The outlook wasn't great. And other semiconductor stocks, Nvidia, AMD, TSM, I think out of all of those, I'm mainly going to be focusing on Nvidia and on Micron. So not really much focus on AMD, not really much focus on TSM. SMCI might be a little special tomorrow because you know, I think it's getting sold off in the Russell index. I think that's what I read somewhere. So we'll see if this one catches some traction. However, this is a very expensive stock, so I'm not really that interested on SMCI as a day trade, but something to keep an eye out for if it does have increased volume. And talking about increased volume, I'm just gonna go back to PanW just to show you how much volume PanW brought in today off the open compared to like the next for the previous 5-6 days, right? This is you can see how the cursor, maybe I'll drop in a horizontal line for us. Alt H should be a horizontal line, right? That horizontal orange line right there at 57k on the 5-minute chart. The last time the stock brought in volume like that, or anywhere close to volume like that and higher, was its earnings day. Right, brought in about 116k off the open in the first 5 minutes. Today we brought in 57k, and then over here we brought in 41k. So that is a lot of volume for just a technical breakout without any catalyst. Nice move. Dieter, amazing call out. I'm shocked Nintendo didn't spike $2 off that logic. What logic? What logic? Was that saying something amazing? I'm a super boomer learning to use ChatGPT. You should ask ChatGPT to teach you how to use ChatGPT. Now that could be absolutely genius. Let's try that. There you go. There you go. Ask ChatGPT to teach you ChatGPT. You can ask ChatGPT to teach you how to code. You can ask ChatGPT to teach you how to play a guitar. You can ask ChatGPT how to use Photoshop, how to trade stocks better, right? Create a proper trading plan for you. It might block you in some ways, but you have to work around it. You have to provide it maybe your trading plan and be like, how can I make this better? And then it will give you some suggestions, but then it'll also tell you like, hey, at the end of the day, you know, financial decisions, you should talk to a financial advisor, which is something that I always say too, because it's legal. I have to say that I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an analyst. I'm just a day trader. I'm not liable for the trades that you take off of you know, the levels that I put into my watch list or into my notes or I call out on stream. If you do take them and make money, amazing, keep them. I don't need $1 from it. And if you lose money on it, I apologize, but these were just my levels. That's something that I was gonna focus on, right? So a disclaimer out there that I have to throw out. But yeah, going down the watch list, I want to talk about Amazon. Amazon today continuing its move to the upside. 200 was almost into play. 200 almost coming into play. So put Amazon on your watch list for tomorrow. Amazing day 2 move. And I think there was a big seller into $200. That could be a profit taker. That could be a short seller. We don't know. But there was a big seller into $200. If that seller is there tomorrow, the game gets interesting on Amazon. So we'll see how this level comes into play. As I've seen recently though, these stocks break these levels in pre-market and then those levels become almost rendered useless at that point. So we'll be interested to see if Amazon breaks 200 in the pre-market or not. And if it doesn't, do we get an opportunity to go see if that seller is at 200? And if he is, I want to take that short opportunity and the long opportunity around that price. All right, Amazon on the watch list. Google, let's see how Google did today. I think Google also went higher, but I'm not a big fan of trading Google. Just not a big fan of intraday trading Google, but we'll keep it on the watch, right? Keep it on the watch. Microsoft trying to have some sort of a juice on the breakout, but the market not really allowing it to have that juice behind it. Amazon really keeping all the juice for itself. Meta was stealing some juice today from the market, but then that juice got stolen away from Meta really quick, right? Got stolen away from Meta really quick, but at the end of the day, Meta's still showing you that it's going to end green. It's going to continue getting bought, make its ascent towards the all-time high after this somewhat of a shaky earnings report, right? People dumped that earnings report, and whoever dumped that earnings report feels like an absolute idiot, because here we are right back to this day within a month. So whoever sold that off feels like an absolute idiot, like a moron. So watching Meta, watching Microsoft, watching Nvidia, watching Google, watching Amazon. What are we missing here? Tesla and Apple. So let's head over to Tesla. Tesla almost coming into 200 to 205. Another stock that's a level to keep an eye out for. So 200 to 205 on Tesla. Mark that bad boy in your charts. Thankfully, we already have all these levels marked up already, so I don't really have to worry about putting too much in my notes. Last but not least, Apple. Apple and Tesla were the two ones that we missed out. Apple, I think, is not really too much of interest. It's almost in that Google basket for me. It is showing you that it's holding above this 207 at the moment. So shout out to Apple. I think if we keep getting pulled back into 207 and shown buying above 207, that could keep giving us some trading opportunities over there. But for now, I'm more interested in Tesla, Nvidia, Meta, Microsoft, Amazon, and maybe even Google. Micron's a good trade in there. Throw Micron. PanW for maybe some sort of a continuation. MLGO. That stock scares me, but we will put it on the watch list nevertheless. GitLab to see if it has more continuation or not. FDX, CCL. FDX, CCL. WBA. Levi. And Micron, the earnings names, and last but not least, the doggy dog, the Snoop Doggy Dog stocks: CHWY, Woof, BOOF, PETS, and PETZ. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the watch list for tomorrow. Now let's head over to the econ calendar, see what the economic calendar looks like. For the most part, the economic calendar should be dead after what seems to be 12 o'clock. Yeah, after 12 o'clock, I'm not really that worried about what happens. But before 12 o'clock, we do have some numbers, economic data that could possibly sway the market in one direction or the other. So keep an eye out during these time periods: 8:30, 9:45, and 10 o'clock. At 8:30, you have core PCE. Real personal consumption? What the hell is that? I've never seen that one before. Okay. Personal spending and core PCE coming out at 8:30. At 9:45, you got the Chicago PMI. At 10 o'clock, you got the Michigan numbers coming out. A bunch of Michigan numbers coming out all at 10 o'clock. And at 10:30, you got the Atlanta GDP number coming out. So a bunch of 2-star, 3-star events throughout the day tomorrow, all starting from 8:30 going into 10 o'clock. And after 10 o'clock, it's kind of dead. We do have a Fed member coming in at 12 o'clock. That could have a little move based on their comments. We'll see how the market reacts. Will it be a free fall Friday? Well, that will get me excited. Trust me, that will get me very excited if we get a free fall Friday tomorrow. But I'm not gonna expect anything from the market, right? With how the market's trading at the moment, I'm not gonna expect anything from it. It's getting bought up. We had a 3-day green streak so far. Amazon had a monster rally. Google's going higher. Microsoft's going higher. Meta's going higher. Tesla's going higher. This is your Magnificent 7. Nvidia is the only one out of your Magnificent 7 that's kind of getting sold off a little bit, right? So if 6 out of 7 are going higher, it's hard to be bearish. It's hard to be bearish. So we'll see how the market goes. Obviously, this roaring kitty, this nonsense is crazy. So CHWY at a high priority tomorrow for sure. At a high priority. And also, just looking at the daily chart on CHWY, it looks great. I mean, this looks great for some sort of a squeeze opportunity, some sort of a craziness opportunity, and especially if Roaring Kitty comes out with some sort of a update that he is now taking some of his wins from GME and rolling it into CHWY. That's gonna cause a whole other shit disturbance on this stock. This one never really short squoze before, but you can bet it's about to start very soon. Especially if we start breaking out above. I mean, if we get above that right there, 41 tomorrow. Not saying that I think it will, but if it does, like I don't even know what to say anymore. Something I did notice also, I gotta bring it up, is after the stock had its craziness and moved back down right into this range. Let me zoom in for you guys so you guys can see a little bit better. Right into this range, there were a very, very big active seller on every single pop. The stock would pop and you would only see 100 shares on the offer, but it would just print infinite amount of shares. It would just be like a money printer going brrrr, printing the offer, printing the offer. The stock's not able to go higher than the offer, instantly slammed down. And then it goes a little bit higher, but this time it's happening. What's happened at 350 is now happening at 330. Printing 330, printing 330, printing 330, rejected, getting dumped right back. And then this time it pops back up. It happens at 320. Then it happens at 310. Then it happens at 30. And this just keeps on happening. So we got a fight between a buyer, a fight between a seller, and you could easily see the seller moving down, but the buyer wasn't really moving up. That's a clear indication of who was in control, or at least who was being more aggressive, right? My manager calls this analogy, think of this as a boxing match. You have a buyer and a seller boxing each other. They're going at it, boom, boom, boom. One's throwing punches, one's throwing counters, right? At the moment, you see this fighter just kind of standing there and just taking punches. He's not really bobbing, dodging left or right. He is being obvious. He is being stupid obvious because his order is just a flat order and not a sophisticated order, right? Whereas the seller, he is gaming the stock, gaming the shit out of it, using icebergs, using orders to hide how much size he wants to sell. Eventually, he wipes out the buyer, which causes this whole down move to the downside. This down move causes a lot of stops to trigger because a lot of people probably saw this consolidation after the pop. I thought, okay, there could be a long trade here, and if this long works out, we can make a lot of money, whereas our risk to reward is amazing. We're risking 50 cents and our reward is, you know, $5 to the upside. So people were smoking whatever it is, the whatever it is that they were smoking, and then all of a sudden when they know that they're wrong, they punch out for a loss, and then you can see how it kind of establishes itself a little bit lower later on. So we'll see if the hedge funds win again in this game. So far, hedge funds have been victorious. Couple hedge funds blew up, yes, when the game first started, but hedge funds have been victorious ever since again. They're smarter, right? These guys are way smarter than all of us combined. So you fooled them once, shame on them. They won't be fooled again. Shout out to George Bush. A fool can only be fooled once, a fool can't be fooled again. So, you know, these guys know what they're doing, and they took advantage of this move to the upside. I played a sympathy on that. I played a sympathy on Wolf instead. So you can do that if you feel scared of CHWY like I was, because the volatility was a little too scary for me. It was a little too scary for me. But the stock has free shorts. It has free shorts. You don't have to pay for shorts. So that might cause more shorts to get trapped and the stock to pop higher if those shorts start getting busted out. So watch out what happens over here on CHWY for the next few days. All right, guys, that is basically all she wrote for tonight's stock talk. Actually, we have a couple things to talk about. One more thing to talk about. We forgot today's IPO. Shame on me. I was supposed to talk about this IPO to you guys yesterday. Forgot to talk about this IPO about this IPO yesterday. And then I forgot about the IPO completely, where I just didn't trade it at all. So we missed out a good trade over here on WBTN. And let's not repeat that mistake by missing out on what seems to be two more opportunities over here on ALMS and LB. So let's go do some research on these two positions. LB, I think we looked up what LB was. It was a Chinese, no, United States, never mind. Oh yeah, Delaware Natural Gas Company. Let's see if you make money or not. Has an enterprise value of 1.61 billion, has a net worth of 1.48 billion. Shares outstanding 72 million, and you're offering 14 million of that to the market. Deal size is about 300 million so far. PE ratio not available because you do not make money. Stocks EBITDA ratio 17.1 and EVFCF, no clue what the hell that is, but 28.12. Return on equity 45%, return on investment capital 27%. In the last 12 months, you only paid $368,000 in taxes? Okay. Gross margin 97%, operating margins 109%, profit margins 98%. Wow. 109% operating margins? You're just printing money then. You're just printing money. In the last 12 months, operating cash flow was 58 million and capital expenditures was 1.25 million. What? It costs nothing for you to run your business. The company has 8.89 million in cash and 138 million in debt, giving a net. Okay, that's fine. That's nothing. 138 million is nothing. In the last 12 months, LB had a revenue of 75.99 million. So you could basically make all that in about 12 months. And has earned 74.6 million in profits. Wonderful. What? This company is amazing. I love it. I love it. Alright, financials. 40% growth year to year. I mean, what more do you want? 40% growth year to year. They're growing. They are growing. So LB looks like a great long for tomorrow. Keep this one on the watch list. Let me look for a spot to add the stock so I don't forget it. I'll put it right under this one. And then I'm also gonna put in a WBTN just in case it gives me an opportunity to trade tomorrow. So WBTN, LB. So I like LB quite a bit based off of what we just saw. And the other IPO coming out tomorrow, ALMS. ALMS. I'm just gonna put in some notes. 40% growth year over year for LB. All right, Air Lease Corporation. What? I'm skeptical. What is this? Oh, this is a different company. ALMS. There you go. Okay, yeah, that was a different company. Alumis will go public soon. Estimated IPO date is June 28th. Profile. Alumis mission is to significantly improve the lives of patients by replacing broad immunosuppression with targeted therapies. We are a clinical stage. Isn't that like a beginning stage? God damn it. What am I trying to look up over here? FTC? No. FDC? FTC? FDC? Who does those clinical stages and stuff? Who does clinical stage stuff? Oh, we got Money Mitch in the chat. What's up, Money Mitch? AMD Palantir Shop are doing great for me on the swings right now. Let's go, baby. You check out Pan W, Money Mitch. We smacked that long today, brother. That was a great fun long today. Fun fact, WBA down 54% year to date. Yeah, GG's to for that one. Who does drug FDA? Didn't I type FDA? I think I did type FDA. God damn it, I'm losing my goddamn mind. Phase 1, phase 2. What phase is clinical? Yeah, so they're at the start. Success minus less than 5%. They're before phase 1. Preclinical. Bruh. So you're just an idea. Clinical stage biopharmaceutical company with initial focus on developing our two focus on. Okay. Tyrosine, whatever inhibitors, a second generation inhibitor that we are developing to maximize target inhibition and optimize tolerability, and A005, a central nervous system and penetrate molecule. Demonstrates significantly therapeutic effect in the phase 2 program. Okay, so you are in phase 2 and so on. ESK001, okay, in patients with PSO, whatever that is, which we define as moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, and is currently being evaluated in additional phase 2 clinical trials. Okay, so you're in higher stages. You're not preclinical, so maybe that's what this means. They're preclinical, they're clinical. They're in clinical stages. This is clinical stage, so they're in phase 1 and phase 2. So they're actually in a better spot. Okay, this is bad. This is good. This is good. This is better. This is why you do research on stuff that you don't know. Moderate to severe, blah, 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 blah. We read that already. Results in 2026 with favorable result in phase 2. So at the end of the day, they make drugs, right? We figured that out. They're in phase 1 and phase 2 and so on. We don't know if they're successful in phase 1 or phase 2, but we'll see if this stock has good financials and other stuff over there to help us look for a trade. Surprisingly enough, not seeing where's the revenue year to year. Cash growth 89% from 2001 to 2021 to 2022. That's great, but where's 2003 to 2004? Are you guys hiding that shit from us? Fishy. 958 million, not even $1 billion company. Enterprise value of almost just shy of that. 56.37 million shares outstanding, and you're offering 17 million. How much in debt are you? They don't even say that. I don't like this company. I hate this company. I hate this company. For a day trade at least, I hate it. No data at all. Not a fan. Period. No data at all. Not a fan. ALMS. Yeah, not sure what I want to do with it. We'll let the stock dictate to us. I'm more leaning to the short side on the... Oh god, excuse me. I'm more leaning to the short side on the pops over here on this garbage stock, so we'll see what happens over here. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all she wrote for today's stream. If you enjoyed today's stream, if you liked the stocks on my watch list and you find some place for yourself, make sure to hit the like, hit that subscribe, and all that fun stuff that helps with the YouTube algorithm. Also go check out my links, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, Discord, Patreon, all of my social media links in my link tree. Also go check out my affiliate sponsors, Benzinga, Trade Ideas, and Traders Sync. Thank you to those sponsors. Now it's time to pay the bills. And by pay the bills, I mean go lose in chess. So let's go do that. We also have the Biden thing right now, don't we? Is that on YouTube? Oh.
And 1 minute each for responses and rebuttals. An additional minute for follow-up, clarification, or response is at the moderator's discretion.
When it's time for a candidate to speak, his microphone will be turned on and his opponent's microphone will be turned off. Should a candidate interrupt when his microphone is muted, he will be difficult to understand for viewers at home. At the end of the debate, each candidate will get 2 minutes for closing statements. There is no studio audience tonight. Pre-written notes.
Wait, I can put it here.
Campaign staff are not
And I can add this as a browser source. Hold up, chat, hold up.
Candidates and their campaigns agreed to accept these rules.
Now, please welcome the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
No, cancel. Shit, that's not what I'm trying to do. Delete, delete, delete. Remove. Yes. Prad, come on, Biden's walking in. You gotta do this quicker. Window capture. Okay. Yes. Bang. And now I can have this on my other screen over here. Have it a little bit bigger.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate.
All right.
With the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy. President Biden.
Wait, you guys can't even see it? Oh, you guys can.
Remain high.
Oh no.
Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do was try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of households
Scranton,
where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos, literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for an insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you. President Trump?
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID, and when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates. That was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, the bounce-back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he has the greatest economy in the world. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where
he's the only one who thinks that.
He rewarded the wealthy.
How are you going to win the presidency if you don't say that America's the best?
In one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant, and the military, You know, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cause countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down, and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said
you can't do that.
9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then
Joe is for sure doped up, 100%.
They spent money like
no
a bunch of people
doubt.
that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years, under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did
Is this guy just going to stall my game, bro?
That people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country.
Thank you.
They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things he's done. We've become like a third world nation.
Kind of want to watch this. And we got our win of the day. We got our win of the day.
I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed
483
millions of
chat,
people to come in here
483
from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%,
1,000 trillionaires,
25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with.
This guy has no clue what he's talking about.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people come. Wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame what's happened to our country.
Joe is not PED cleared.
Not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people. They cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue
Of course they get a woman to ask the abortion
However,
question, eh?
The federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, and getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states.
You know who I want to watch watching
now
this?
The states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a
He's
decision
probably not
that was,
on YouTube, though.
an end
Shit.
result. It was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different.
He's not
Florida's
on
different.
YouTube.
But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is
States'
now
rights is
coming
dumb.
together on this
States' rights
issue.
is dumb because that means New York could be able to murder a baby then. Like, it's just so stupid. Oh, states' rights to murder babies? Like, that doesn't make sense.
That the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is a guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, have and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help.
He said
The
him
idea
as
that
a doctor.
states
He's
are
not
able to
woke.
do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in.
You're talking about abortion, man.
Here's the deal.
What this guy talking about?
By their in-laws.
He's short-circuiting.
Why is he talking about what?
Brothers and sisters. It's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
He went from abortion to murder from immigrants?
By the same people he allows to come across the border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. Consider the most dangerous place anywhere in the world.
Immigrant rapists.
And these killers are
Victims
coming
need
into our country,
abortions.
and they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting.
Oh, maybe that's what he wanted to talk about. He was talking about how immigrants are coming in, killing and raping women. So abortion should be allowed because of that. Maybe that's where he was going with it. But the way he diverted midway abruptly all of nowhere. Oh my God, old man Joe.
Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states, I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. The first time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia.
Bro, you know he practiced that line and he still fucked it.
So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
You're lying. That is simply not true.
They're not cutting him off.
Not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion. Period. Period.
Can you just interject
Under
like
Roe v. Wade, you
No, he
have
finally got
abortion.
energetic when he talked about how
depending on the state, you can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where You had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of this. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we have the safest border in the history of our country. All he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon,
I won't say that, but they did it.
But look,
just talk
we had
to
the
them.
safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed three, and his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person come in his administration, killed three American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their
You
prisons.
should say what you said, Momo. Biden should say that you are the real terrorist for inciting attack on the Capitol building. You are the real terrorist. That would have been debate done for that topic.
Carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed three people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani.
Abu al-Baghdadi?
Biggest terrorist anywhere in the world.
Abu al-Baghdadi?
Huge impact
I remember
on
that
everything,
guy.
not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water.
Abu al-Bakr Baghdadi.
Thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and they just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, or we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all, and he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved, choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, Veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
Your son's a drug
First of all,
addict.
that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right. Thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy.
Chat, I'm gonna go get my dinner real quick. I'll be back.
War against
I'm gonna
Ukraine,
watch this while I eat my
which is
food.
now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned. And so he's got no love lost. But he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind, too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine, never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything, no money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
President Biden?
Never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president, they attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where...
All right, what did I miss? What did I miss? What did I miss?
Trump did in
Fill
Ukraine.
Fill me in.
This guy told Trump, do whatever you want, and do whatever you want.
Chat.
And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And
fried rice.
Listen to what he said when he went in.
We got some hot sauce on the side, not sriracha,
because it's part of the
hot
old Soviet
sauce,
Union. That's
with
what he wanted to
broccoli,
reestablish.
chicken that you can't
And he, in
see
fact,
because the
didn't
lights
do it at all. He didn't
too
even able to
orange.
get it done.
But
And they've lost over
there you go, fried
thousands
rice.
and thousands of troops, 500,000
Thank you.
troops.
President Trump,
I
as I
never
come back
said
to you
that.
for 1 minute, I just want to
Bon
go back to
appetit,
my
chat.
original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the
No, they're
territory
not
in Ukraine?
acceptable. No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending.
I'm in love with
it
those
should have
girl
never
guys.
happened. I will have that
in love
war
with this chess
settled
streamer.
between Putin and
But anyways,
Zelensky
we're here for
as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled.
We're here for our
People
son Harvey
being
right
killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, and by the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward, which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. Number one, they're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened? In Israel, we're finding that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so there are 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for what
the hot's not spicy, chat.
Among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent 100 billion or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any. They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting all. You got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. Somebody who wants to get out of NATO. The idea that we have our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but if we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe, what happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places.
You called him a Palestinian.
He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained.
This is completely out of control.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay.
Is doing
and the
terrible.
only
I think
reason
he's doing
that
amazing.
he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question, would you guard us against Russia at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time. And I said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor of, in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it, too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in that dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say
he's going to pardon them.
He went to every single court in the nation. I don't know how many cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court, and they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He did do a damn thing, and these people should be in jail, and they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out. And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that it could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people when they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities. You go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there, with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing. The Unselect Committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at.
Oh, he said it!
What he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in
Come on.
Wait, what the fuck?
That's on.
Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots? Come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're talking about now? Will you denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon. at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death
hypothetically,
the border.
He's like, hypothetically, we're all convicted felons, potentially.
We're going to want $1 billion, or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. You want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are
You can tell his strong elements. Like, you can tell when he's, like, invested. This is one of those things.
For
typical old man, doesn't give a shit about anything.
A whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant. I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
What?
Sir?
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam. And it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. You
can't rely on that. The courts are pushing it back, dumbass.
I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you heard any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? Do you ever hear any president say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And the young woman got killed. I spoke to the mother, and they asked him, they said, what do you think of those people? The ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones, he said, I think they're fine people on both sides. What American president would ever say, Nazis coming out of fields, carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas, were fine people? And this is a guy who says Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are. The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
Okay. President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on that. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it.
Thank
There's
you,
nothing to
Gideon, for
debate.
the 20 gifted
He made up
subs.
the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every anchor has, every reasonable anchor.
He looks so
has
fucking confused,
debunked
bro.
it.
He's gonna walk
And just
away.
the other day it came
Does.
out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that,
It's
and
past
he
his
didn't run
bedtime.
because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden?
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So
Oh,
why?
Trump goes,
Why? They know
ooh,
him
that's
well.
a good one.
They serve with him. Why
Look
are
at
they not
Trump's
endorsing
face.
him?
Trump goes, ooh.
Thank you, President Biden. We're
that's
going to be
a
right
good
back
one.
with more from the CNN
Bro,
presidential debate.
bro. I've never seen a bigger fucking layup get flubbed so abysmally. Like, this is incredible. Banger after banger. They sent
He is too old. He's just actually too old.
Is there more
literally.
coming?
It looks
It's not
like
a perception problem.
Is there more coming after this commercial break? How long is this debate supposed to be? 2 hours long?
Coming up, our series. Wait a
How long
minute. Tom,
is
is
the
that you
debate?
working the camera?
Keep leaning out of your close-up.
Your morning routine just got better. CBS
90
Mornings,
minutes? Ain't nobody
weekdays
got
at
time
7.
for that. No, it's 30 more minutes. 30 more minutes. We had 60 minutes so far, pretty much.
I had progressively fallen deeper into the world of online sports betting.
The risk is the rush. What do you think is driving the spike in popularity?
I think it's legality.
If it's legal, I'm going to use it. There are ways to bet when you are 18.
We've created an epidemic of child gambling.
You can't walk into a male dormitory in a college campus without sports betting happening.
It's
Can't hear
America's
me
most
over the
neglected
TV?
problem.
Oh,
I
fair
use
enough, fair
sports
enough.
betting as a way to escape, when in reality, I'm choosing self-destruction. Whatever I had left, it was gone.
The purpose of the industry is to get you to play.
What a shit show so far. My goodness.
Go to the ends of the
Perfect time
earth.
for chess game?
Reach for the stars.
Perfect time for a chess game.
That kind of thing.
That's pretty good. Because there's always
Think
something
Biden had a
under the
stroke?
sun.
I for sure
CBS
agree with that.
Sunday morning.
An original documentary from CBS reports
That Desire Farm is a wonderful place to raise children, and it still is.
promises broken.
Black Americans have been the target of racism and discrimination.
What do I do here,
pretty much
yo?
From the time they acquired
What is this guy going for?
Hundreds of billions in generational
He's gonna drop it down here.
Everything to make sure
He's gonna do this to be safe.
that land.
But communities are uniting to continue the fight,
Collective ownership is powerful.
to keep their land and their dreams alive.
To watch my
I know there's a break, so I'm just taking a break because there's a break.
So land is power.
Most definitely.
40 acres
I can
of
fit in a game in the meantime. Oh, he messed up. He messed up hard.
People with developmental disabilities were once sequestered by the hundreds of thousands in institutions.
Many of our fellow citizens are suffering tremendously because lack of attention, lack of imagination, lack of adequate manpower.
Disability activists have since torn down barriers blocking them from living at home
I go
or in
here.
the community.
We conclude that
He can
Title
come
II
here,
of the
then I
ADA
come here.
requires states to provide community-based treatment for persons
Yeah,
with mental disabilities.
This
But
is
of
trap.
the 16,000 people who remain in state-operated institutions, half are in 5 states, and Illinois is one of
Should have
them.
moved this one up, but he messed up.
Institution, it makes me
He messed up.
discriminated against.
Do you think there are people living in institutions in Illinois that don't need to be living there?
Yeah, because they're proving it as soon as they get out.
What did he play? He took that. Kind of want to do this, honestly.
John Dickerson, join me for the Daily Report, weekdays on CBS News 24/7.
Or do I just do this? I'll just do that. It's better to take it with the pawn.
this could happen to anybody.
And that's why we do that. Over here, though, now we'll just take, I don't want to double up, but if I do this, he comes in with that, then I take with this. I'm okay with the trade. I'm okay with the trade. I don't want to lose too many pawns too early. I'm okay with that trade.
Faced in your first terms, and you'd certainly face again in a second. President Biden, while black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, black families still earn
just do
far
this.
less than white families.
Ooh, I don't want to do this because that's.
3 times more likely to die
Oh, he's
for
got that though.
pregnancy-related causes.
Right.
And black Americans
We'll do
are
this for
imprisoned
now.
At 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is there are more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're providing housing for black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among.
This guy's trolling. He's gonna give me a free win, but I only win 7 if I win this anyways.
To keep people out
but
of
whatever.
houses.
This guy's trolling.
In addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black child care costs. I cut them in half. We've got to make sure we provide for child care costs. We've got to make sure, because when you provide those child care protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any black family, first-time home buyer, should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those black families and those black individuals who had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they were engaged in nursing, and anything having to do with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years on their student debt, all the rest is forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for black families.
Thank you, President Trump.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right. It's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone.
Perfect,
he destroyed
eh?
it with his Green New Scam and all
Perfect
of the other,
country
all
he
this
gave
money
to
that's being
Trump.
thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back. 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy, absolutely decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation at the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered, the ACA has increased. I made sure that they're $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They've tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again, and they're going to try again if they win. You find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing anything, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on, but in inflation, he caused it by his tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Well, let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s.
Super predator.
Super predators was his name. And he called it to them for 10, and they've taken great offense at it. And now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunities
it happened
with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job. Great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country. Opportunity zones, and the biggest beneficiary are blacks, and that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. We find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges. I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges, because they don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these
laboratories. That's a very out-of-the-book move.
Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. They just don't have the money. But now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord. I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change. And he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence who were not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything if we're not able to, the United States can't get its under control? One of the largest polluters in the world, number one.
Shit.
We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress. and we're continuing to make progress.
take
We set
that.
up a climate corps for
He
thousands
takes
of young
that,
people to learn how
then I
to deal
take
with them,
that.
just like the Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to
has nothing
significantly
else.
change
That's right,
the elements
okay.
that cause of pollution.
So I'm still good
But the
here.
idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
Thank you.
So every day,
he
millions of
stopped.
Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now, everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I'm proposing that everybody, the millionaires pay 1%. 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share.
I gotta see the
by
clip for
increasing
that
from
one.
1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent. But the biggest thing I'll do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare both times. And and if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that I believe supports, is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is, we're in a situation where we talk about education for black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants by another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He can look you in the face. About so many other things, too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world, the reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a
DNS announcer is real shit.
And he reduced it a little bit. Like this.
Have you been watching this game though, TH? I've been killing it.
Borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We are the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America.
United States of America.
We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody, number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with child care, he did virtually nothing to child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make child care more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you, and they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the 2 of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he will increase taxes on middle-class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that are very important. Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he's somehow helped the middle class. The middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You had the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are at the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden.
You lost
Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate.
Manchurian candidate.
So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways. But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women.
Look at that, $4.99. I said by the end of the month, 500.
Numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl. These big machines.
I think I need to take a break. I played too many games and I won all of them.
It cost a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal.
Thank you, sir. Thank
machines, you. More be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues, said, "Don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically." No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, because this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say there's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter. I think, a good guy. And he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where he paid $6 billion.
So basically, Biden bends over like a
I
bitch.
got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look how I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 50 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought an awful lot of people. Well, the whole idea of computer chips. We used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and then bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And guess what?
You mean Pelosi did?
To build these chips. Those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our
Ecuador.
We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done.
India.
We're the strongest
China.
country in the world.
Russia.
We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong-un, who sends love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one. A really easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way, and I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, anyway, just take a look at what he says. Take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him.
Did he say Trump was 6 foot?
And I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8. But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn
Let's not act like children.
to a specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form
God
is
help
unacceptable?
us.
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again.
Here we go.
We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all, and required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done and what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because of our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that road.
Really?
Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush.
I get this over with. I'm tired. I want to go to bed.
Obama and Biden, they took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. Not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me.
I'm falling asleep, chat. I want to sleep on stream. It's gonna be a
this man right here.
It's gonna be a sleep
That's
on
a war that should have never started. It would have
sleep
never
stream
started ever with
and
me.
you guys are gonna have
and
to.
he's going to take Ukraine.
Play music videos
you asked me a question before.
or
Would
content
you do this?
while we
He's
sleep
got
over
us in
here on
such a
stream
bad
together
position right
today.
now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war.
You guys seen those sleep stream
until
before?
Such time. They're running out of people.
Where people
They're running
just
out of
keep
soldiers. They've
donating
lost so many people. It's so
to
sad.
play videos.
They've lost so
and
many
the video
people,
just
and
keep
they've
playing
lost
in the
those
background.
gorgeous cities
People
with
make
the
so
golden
much money
domes that are
doing that. It's
1,000
crazy.
years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was,
Be
will
like
you accept
Sleepy
the results
Joe
of the
with your
election,
eyes open?
regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, No political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back.
Talking about
with
something
more
snapping.
From the CNN presidential debate.
More.
Live from Georgia.
More. Bro, it's been... Oh, it's 90 minutes, right? We've only been an hour so far. Wait, no, it started at 9 o'clock. It's been 90 minutes.
Bright, shiny faces.
When you wake up in the morning,
on,
we want to
man.
be your go-to team.
Nate has one of the quickest minds I've ever seen.
Tony has a way of making people feel comfortable.
Okay.
Daly has this unbelievable knack to ask the
Time
question
for-
that you're asking at home.
I've been told I could talk to a tree, and that's pretty much true.
I don't go to work in the morning. I go for
500
coffee
chat?
with my two good friends, and we talk about the world.
Your morning routine just got better.
Time to get
CBS
to
Mornings,
500.
weekdays at 7.
It didn't seem like anything could happen because nothing ever happens in East Palestine, but it did.
Mikey, what's up, Mikey?
Authorities released toxic fumes
Brad,
from
let my
5
boy get
derailed
a
train
shout.
cars.
Brad, let my boy get a shout. His name is JJ. Yo, what's up, JJ? How you doing, brother? What's up, brother? What's up, brother? Why do they all fall for this? Stop this guy or this guy? Where's he going? If I go here, anywhere he goes, he just dies. LFG Trump, thank you for the $2, Mikey. Appreciate that, big boy. Worried at all. Thank you. I'm cleaning shop over here, chat. I might as well retire the game. Give me my 500, please. I've worked real hard for this. You don't understand how hard I worked for this. Just give it to me. Please. I've worked insanely hard for this.
As predetermined by a coin toss, we're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience, or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes, and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case
Mike
again.
Crahan donated
But
$2
this guy
through Super Chat.
has increased your taxes
LFG
because
Trump.
of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, when, for example, he wants to get away with, get rid of the ability of Medicare to, for the ability to, for the us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down.
Let's go.
Excuse me, $35.
Dude,
instead of
$507.
No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter what how much.
Chat, we did it. We said by the end of the month we're gonna break 500.
Debt by $160
we broke
billion
500. Oh my
because
God!
the government to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior.
Oh my God!
It's happening now, and everybody.
Yo, those games were clean too today, TH. If you saw those games today, they were clean. Thank you for the $2 again, Mikey. What's up, JJ?
What we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is
Oh,
just a
closing
complainer.
statement. So they're
He
almost
said,
done.
We want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do. All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason
Trump
he's got
telling
jobs
us
is
what
because I
we
cut the
already know.
regulations that give
Joe's
jobs. But
gotta
he's putting
go.
a lot of those
Hey,
regulations
Trump's
back on.
telling us what
All
we
of the
already
things
know.
that we've done,
Joe's
nobody's
gotta
ever,
go.
I've never seen anything like, even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space-age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore.
A
We're going to make it
working
great again.
day on Monday.
Thank you, former President Trump.
But Monday
President
is
Biden.
Canada Day and also
Stay
my
with
dad's
us
birthday.
Because we have full analysis
So,
of this debate.
I don't know if
Cooper
I'm
and Aaron
doing the
Burnett
show or
starts
not.
Now on
Also, my
CNN.
parents are going to India on those 2 days, so might be busy. We'll see.
And so the first presidential debate of the 2024 election season is in the books. As you witnessed, President Biden opening.
I'll keep you guys informed on obviously social media, Twitter, Discord, and so on. Make sure you follow me. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the stream. I'm so glad it's over because I'm so tired. Can't wait to go to sleep, get some rest. But yeah. Hopefully you guys are ready for tomorrow. Get ready for all those amazing trades we're gonna smack on the market. Make that big cheddar cheese, baby. You know what I'm talking about? To make that big cheddar cheese, baby. But time for bed, ladies and gentlemen. Good night. Today's chess games were amazing. That debate was funny. The charting was, I liked it. We found some good plays for tomorrow, so it's time to call it a night. Wish you guys a great night, whatever is left of it, and have a great have a great trading session tomorrow. I'll see you guys either Sunday or Monday. I'll keep you guys posted, because Monday is Canada Day. It's Canada's Independence Day. It's my dad's birthday, so I might be busy on that day, so I might have to cancel the stream on that day. But if I don't, you'll see me on stream. But if I do have to cancel it, I'll let you know on Twitter. But besides that, have a good weekend. I'll see you guys soon. TraderPrad out. Ciao. As a trader, trade like that every single video. Pretty good moves across the board. Or tech basket. Get destroyed. Get ready for trade off of. Get ready for the watch list for tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm gonna bring in my big screen over here. Back to another brand new week of After the After Hours with your host TraderPrad. I'm doing great. Hopefully you guys are joining me on that great side. Markets are moving around. Might just be a risk on type of day, so let's see what happens. 8 o'clock tomorrow. As you guys know, we do the stream Monday to Thursday, 8 p.m. Shout out to my affiliate sponsors, Benzinga, Trade Ideas, the #1 scanner to go to, Trader Sync, promo code down below, promo code PRAD15 to get 15% off. I will catch you guys tomorrow, 8 o'clock, same time, same place. Until then, TraderPrad out. Adios.